Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jorge from CasaRefine.com and today I'm going to show you how I made this really cool side table. So I was in the market for a nice side table or maybe like an accent table, somewhere to put my beverage, and I saw these really cool tables on Burke.com, and specifically, like I think it's called the Canon table, and they have three different variations of them. And what I really like about it is that really minimal profile. They're very sleek and really sexy. And so I was like, I definitely want this. And turns out they're $200 each. And honestly, that's not that bad. But I was like, maybe I can make this for less. And so I was able to make this table for about $15 or so. So if that's something you want to see, let's go ahead and get started. Now for this table, overall I feel like it's going to be pretty simple. For the base, I need to find something, a mold or something that can serve as a concrete base, maybe a cylinder or something fun. And then I will be inserting the PVC pipe or copper pipe or something like that. And then just a simple top made out of metal or wood. I think overall this is going to be a pretty simple project, so let's go ahead and see what I find. Okay, so here is what we are going to need. I have some high strength concrete mix. I have this 2.5 quart mixing container, and actually this container is kind of important for this specific table because we're actually going to be using that as the mold for the base. And then I have a pizza pan that I got from Dollar Tree, ultra matte black spray paint, and then 1/2 inch copper pipe, and I will be needing about 2 to 3 feet of that. And I will be needing this thing right here, which is like a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch bushing cap made out of CPVC, I believe. I will have everything linked down below. So let's go ahead and get started. So like I said, we're going to be using this mixing container as a mold for the base of the table, and I really like the taper on it. So we're going to be turning it upside down, and now I need to create a hole so that the copper pipe can be inserted nice and snug. I'm going to be using this 5/8 inch spade drill bit and create a hole for the pipe. Now you totally do not need to use a drill for this. You can use an X-Acto knife or a utility knife. As you can see here, the pipe fits nice and tight, which is what we want. Now the hole is going to be needed to hold the pipe, but we do need to put the concrete in there, so we need to go ahead and put some tape onto the hole and really kind of just seal it temporarily, but we will be removing that piece of tape later on. So a typical drink table is about 2 feet tall. Obviously you can make it as tall as you want. Now I bought this is the 1/2 inch copper pipe. I bought a 5-foot length one. I'm going to cut it down to about 2 feet. I will say that my local Lowe's and Home Depot have pre-cut sizes that are also 2 feet in length. So you can totally just skip the cutting part and just buy that size. Also, if you decide to buy a larger one, they do cut this at the store. So that's something to keep in mind. Before starting on the concrete, I went ahead and cut the pipe to 2 feet. I'm also giving it 2 coats of black spray paint and allowing that to dry before moving on. I'm also prepping the container and adding some canola oils just so that the concrete does not stick to the container. I've seen some people use WD-40. In hindsight, I probably would have done that if I had some because this didn't work that well for me. And now on to the fun stuff, the concrete. And to be honest, I got the cheapest bag of concrete mix I could find at the store, and this was $3 or $4 from Lowe's, and I'm very impressed with it. The only thing is that it had a lot of aggregate, and in my mind I felt like that would be an issue for getting a smooth concrete finish. So I went ahead and used this Dollar Tree strainer and kind of separated, or tried to at least separate the pebbles from mix and just get like that powder. Now, I've seen some people use mortar, which has some sand in it. Not exactly sure how that would pan out, but maybe worth trying. And also, this whole sifting thing, I don't know if that was necessary, but you know, you live and you learn. Since I'm being real here, this is my first time working with concrete and it's honestly not that bad. So I'm adding the water, and from what I read online, you do not want a soup-like consistency. You want it to be more like a butter-like consistency. And so that's what I did, and I'm using this drill attachment to make my mixing a lot easier, but you can just mix it with like a stick or something. And then I'm pouring it onto the container mold and really filling it all the way to the top, and I'm covering that up. The great thing about the cement is that it is not fast setting, so it gives me plenty of time to really get situated. So I'm taking it over to a spot where it basically won't be bothered for 2 to 3 days. I'm flipping it upside down, removing the tape, and I'm going to insert that pipe right into the center and all the way to the bottom of the container. Now I want to make sure that it is going to be nice and even, but before that I want to go ahead and tap out all of the air out. I quickly realized that this cement is pretty much enclosed in this airtight container, and I'm not sure if that's an issue for the curing process. So just to be safe, I went ahead and cut a little vent hole at the top here on one of the sides, just to ensure that it cures properly. Next, I'm using this mallet and lightly tapping the sides to remove as many air bubbles as I possibly can. The more you tap, the more bubbles you remove. And finally, I'm using this level to really ensure that the tube is nice and straight. The last thing you want is all this hard work and have a crooked table. Pretty much let that sit for 2 to 3 days and let it cure. In the meantime, I worked on the top of the table, and I'm taking my pizza pan and turning it upside down and locating the center of it, or at least trying to, because for the life of me this was like the hardest thing. Let me know down in the comments below if you know how to find the center of a circle like this. Now I took my bushing cap and sanded the bottom of it just so that it could adhere to the pan, because this is going to serve as the connection to the pipe. Now I used this glue from the Dollar Tree, and honestly I would not recommend this. It's not as strong as E6000, so use that if you have it, and then glue it onto the center. Once that dried, I gave this a couple coats of the matte black spray paint. Alright, so it's been about 2 days and I'm going to go ahead and remove it from the container. It's looking pretty good, but I'm a little bit worried that it didn't work. But I'm sure it's fine. So let's see how it looks. So I went ahead and removed the lid, and I tried to remove the container gently, but honestly it would just not come off. It was really stuck to the concrete. Maybe I didn't add enough oil, or I should have used WD-40. So I was like, what the heck. So I basically cut it off. It was only like $2, and you all, it actually worked. I'm very happy by the way it turned out. I took some sandpaper and lightly sanded off some areas that needed some sanding and making sure that it was nice and smooth throughout. Now I noticed that some of the copper was still peeking through at the bottom, so I went ahead and gave it a light touch up with some paint, and then applied some glue to the connection there, and then just pop it into place. And honestly, that pretty much does it for this. So let's take a look at the final table. Alright you all, that table turned out really nice. It's probably one of my favorite DIYs to this date. It's very nice and simple, sleek, modern. I think it turned out really great, and it doesn't look DIY'd, if you know what I mean, which is a great thing. And so if that's something that you want to make in the future, I would definitely encourage it. One thing I would change in the future is probably doubling up the pans. If you use that pan from the Dollar Tree, maybe adding 2, because it feels a little bit flimsy. So that'll make it feel a little bit more rigid, or use like a different platter or a higher quality pan or something like that. But other than that, I think it turned out great. Let me know down in the comments below what you think. Also, make sure to give some love and like this video. Subscribe for more DIYs, thrift flips, home decors, and things like that. So I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye.